right, man. Quan getting himself together. It's all good. Hey, so first things first, I appreciate you, uh, Mr. Dotson, for letting us know we was late. I appreciate you for that. We were just trying to get some things together. But no, I appreciate you staying on us, brother. But let's do it the right way, man. Welcome everybody to secondary sessions. Um, Yeah, man. Ain't no big long speech as far as what we talk about, but you already know secondary teachers, secondary educators, talking about the issues and things that we deal with, man. And we've had some really good shows, and we want to keep them shows going. So we're here right now. If you're just tuning in, go ahead and hit the like button, and also please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Man, I'm getting tongue tied today. All right, man. Quan, before we get started, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, Doc. I'm good, Doc. I'm excited. It's audition season and a
Yeah,
season.
I'm about to say we audition seasoning. Oh Lord, that's a seasoning. I didn't
Yeah,
know that
it's
was
a
chicken.
yeah, it's audition season. So I think any band director, it's an exciting time, but it's also a time where like you reflect, where sometimes you do some self reflection on you, just to ensure that ask yourself, did you do everything in your power to prepare that student? So I'm excited. I'll be meeting some of the instructors from Grambling this weekend for auditions and whatnot. So I'm just looking forward to it all.
All right, that's good, man. That's absolutely great. Um, you know, I haven't had the pleasure of having the audition season this year because I'm at another level now. So but I definitely know what that feels like in that process. Then in your brain, here's the problem with the audition process, right? Because like you know that you like going. Dang, my bad. Going, your students are going into that room and they're supposed to play off these things and the process and all that kind of stuff. And in the back of your mind, you sit up there like, man, did I teach this kid right or not? Is this kid gonna be embarrassing the heck out of me, or are they gonna show that I actually taught them something? So
Yeah, yeah.
I know exactly what that feeling is like, because if I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I know I've sat in a few times and just listened outside the door, and they be like, "All right, play this scale, play that scale," and then one of your student will flub on one of the scales. You're like, "God dang, man! I know you know that scale. How you mess that scale up, man?"
Now if
So
I was applying to this school, you make me look bad.
absolutely, you don't never want. Hey, man, don't go in there and make me look bad,
You're
dog.
stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that pressure, brother. So, good luck to you and your students, man. They have a great director, man. So I don't think that you have any problems, man. That's awesome. All right, man. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off. It may be just me and you tonight, man. If it's me and you, we gonna rock, man. And I know that dang it, I just turned my sound off and then it just came back on. All right, there we go. But yeah, I know that a couple of folks are going to be in possibly a little bit later, but it's all good. We're going to rock and do how we do it. So let me go ahead and do it once again. Welcome to Secondary Sessions. As soon as you coming in, go ahead and smash that like button. All right, smash the like button. Get these likes up, and also please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. All right, I'm going a different route today. There were some things that were on my mind, some conversations that I've had with some folk, and these conversations are actually leading into the questions that we have today. So here's my first question. Educators get a bad rap. Why do you think that is? Educators get a bad rap. Why do you think that is?
Come on, go first.
Yeah, go on, you got it.
uh, I think with any profession, there are the band is always glorified or magnified bigger than those teachers or those individuals in that particular career. You know, uh, that are doing what's right. Prime example, we all know for a fact that all police officers are not bad, right? However, for years it's been perpetuated that certain cops or certain officers are bad, and to a degree, it's been magnified more than the good officers in this situational scenario. I think there are bad educators. I think there are bad teachers. And in my opinion, I do think, honestly, becoming a teacher is easy. Think about it. You can graduate with a degree. Depending where you are, you may attend um, alternative certification program, and you're doing that because of job security. But the truth is, but the question is, are you really there for the students? Are you really there for the kids? Are you accepting this occupation and profession as a calling, or just I'm gonna ride this out because I know they get the summer off and they get paid through the summer, they get holidays off. Like what's your motive behind it? So I think there are teachers that are lazy. I think there are teachers that honestly possibly have overextended themselves and should be retired. But I also think that we have some great, outstanding teachers, and I think for this particular time and season of what's going on in the world, teachers are being stretched in areas where they've never been stretched before. From social emotional learning, from teaching online to not knowing tomorrow, am I going to be teaching online or am I going to be back traditional? Going to school every day and you know honestly putting their lives and their family lives at risk with this pandemic because it's not over. So I think we have to look at that. But unfortunately, like in the words of Joe Clark, a few bad apples do spoil the bunch.
All right. I'm gonna take it into a different route here. Um, I think educators get a bad rap because there's been this glamorization of education. If we look at films as it pertains to education, the Mr. Holland's Opus, the Stand and Deliver, those movies. Um, what's the other one? The one where Coolio did the soundtrack with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, Gangsta's
Uh,
Paradise.
well, that's the name of the song, but the film itself.
What?
Um, um,
Let me Google it.
I can't remember the name of the movie, but my whole point is there's just been this dramatization, this glamorization of educators where you were supposed to sacrifice your whole life and your well-being and everything to be the educator, to educate these kids, to make sure that they have what they need to be successful, and disregarding who you are as a human being, disregarding your health, disregarding everything that says that uh, you yourself as a person. And
Dangerous.
so, dangerous minds. There we go. There we go. So, so I think that yeah, brother Chuck had it for me. Uh, uh, but yeah, I think that is one of the biggest problems that we have in education, or at least why we get a bad rap, because you will meet educators now who are like, I'm here for the kids, yes, but at X amount of time, at 4:30 or 3:30 or whenever that bell rings, I'm done. I'm leaving. Or because now you have social media platforms, you have educators who are saying, hey, I am uncomfortable, or I disagree, or I am not okay with X, Y, and Z happening. I'm not okay with the things that they're asking me to do for the pay that they are giving me. And so I think that people have that misconception, and now it allows them to, not that that misconception gives teachers a bad rap, because now people believe that educators are supposed to be what they've seen on film, right? It's almost like the drumline effect,
Mhm.
right? You watch the movie Drumline, and a person who has never actually marched in a band, or a person who's never been in a HBCU style band, will look at us or look at band and think that that's what we do, that it's okay to allow a kid to make it from middle school to high school into a university and can't read music.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think that is why educators get a bad rap. And I think also social media plays a big part in that too, along with those things. Because like you said, you know, educators get their degrees and or they go and get their certification for the idea of, well, we got weekends, I'm not weekends, but we got summers and holidays and all those things off, not knowing that all that a teacher has put up with throughout the course of a year. And so I think that those are those little things that allows us to, or allows people to have a bad rap for educators. And Quan just completely disappeared, but it's all good. Oh, Smiths.
Yeah. Now I'm here, bro. Now I'm here. What was your question? I'm sorry.
No. I didn't have a question. I was actually putting a period on what I was saying. I was just saying that those are the things that give educators a bad rap, in my opinion.
But 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 I don't think self care is something bad. I think we're a generation now. I think you and I are millennials. So I think you and I
I don't
we're
call myself a millennial, but go ahead.
you was born with 86.
I'm gonna tell you why I don't call myself a
But
millennial. You get finished with your point, but go ahead.
okay. But you was born around 86. So
I
you
wasn't
saw
born in '86 though.
a roundabout. You was 80 something. You wasn't 79. So I know for a fact that my age group, the people in their 30s, and up, we were the last generation, honestly, of like, that was raised by grandmama, big mama, and them, where I'm from, Mamo, you know, and we saw the transition, honestly, and I'm gonna go somewhere with this, with technology, social media, so forth and so on. We also was the generation that saw a different world and was like, go to college and do these things and make sure that you sacrifice and work hard. And the process of working hard, great things are going to come, which is true. But they didn't teach us the aspect of balance, our elders, of, yeah, work hard, but you need to take care of your first ministry is your family. And we've seen a lot of teachers die, we're talking, in their seats, sacrificing because of that mentality of, I gotta work hard because when I work hard, good things come. But it was a different education system when my mother was in school, my older brothers and whatnot. It was a different time frame. School wasn't about big business. Now it is. Now, some of those things with the No Child Left Behind Act and whatnot, and those things with standardized testing, it's all about data in the testing. And for us music educators, we know that that's the hard part. For the educators that teach other content, we know that you're not really teaching that child skills of common sense and test taking skills. I'm sorry, not test taking skills, but what's the word I'm looking for? It's another word basically, but it's for like common sense, problem solving aspects. You can't teach a child that because you so busy, you worry about keeping your own livelihood and your job. So I think you have more teachers that are griping and complaining because you just can't teach. That's the problem. We're doing everything else except teaching. And with these social media platforms, it's evident. Think about it. You low key have to chapter 37 a kid to get them out your class, and they damn near have to murder you, and you have to prove it that they've murdered you, to get a child out your class for your health, for health wise. To fail a kid could do nothing. I saw a quote from a post from Sister Crystal the other day. It's not that teachers are lazy. It's literally a kid could do nothing all year. An administrator will say, give them the test again. And then because they took it, you got to give them a 70, depending what district you in. So how can you win? School is different now from back in the day. There's no accountability whatsoever towards the parent as well as the student. And honestly, how school is now, the teachers are sometimes afraid of the administrator. The administrator is afraid of the parents, and the kids ain't afraid of nobody. That's school for you. So I think it's different now, bro. I think that's why we get a bad rep, because there's no accountability for anything.
But I 100% agree with you. But I also not only say that it's different, but many people believe that it still runs the same. teachers, I mean not teachers, but parents believe that things still run the same. Like, take for instance, situations like what you see sometimes in social media, not social media, but like in the news. Like, let's look at the that band director that ended up fighting that kid and got recorded, right? If you look at how teachers, or not teachers, but parents, when they were interviewed, are like, he shouldn't have did X, Y, and Z, and blah 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 blah. And as an educator, I'm looking at it like, wait a minute, this little kid is cussing this teacher out, threw a basketball at him, and there was no admin. Everybody just sitting there, and the idea is, well, you supposed to be the adult. Like, wait a minute, have we lost our minds for a second? Like, because I put it in the perspective of, if my child tried to do that to me, my mindset wouldn't be I'm supposed to be the adult. My mindset is, nah, you gonna have to sit down. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the problem is that I agree with you that education and the system itself has changed, but I think that parents, in totality, not all parents, but most parents, believe that the system still and should, or the system still runs the same, and so they look at the educator like that. I'm gonna go back to something else that you said. I think that it is important to think about our mental health, right? But that once again goes back to what I was saying, or what I just got finished saying. People or parents believe that, hey, you ain't got that many problems. What, you go to school, you teach a couple kids, and you go home? Nah, bruh. No, it's serious out here, bruh. Like, so I don't I 100% agree that I think that the education system has changed. I think that mental health is important, and we need to protect our mental health. But I saw a post somewhere that said something to the degree of, how is it that school systems are telling you to protect your mental health, at the same time you're the thing that is actually causing me the mental health? So I find that very interesting, man. I really do.
Just bottom line, man. What teachers are, we're in uncharted waters at this point. Like, we've never experienced a pandemic of this magnitude. And I think that they said the last time a pandemic happened like this, it was like the Spanish flu, whatever. But of course, it was hundreds of years ago. It was hundreds of years ago, where individuals overall wasn't mobile like they are now. I mean, like, and I know in Texas, it's like, what pandemic? People gonna move around. People gonna go look at the AFC championship, the NFC championship. It's normal in certain particular states and whatnot, but they expect. And this is what I don't understand. We was basically off 2 years, like teaching virtually, so to speak, and they want everything to come back the same. When I was teaching virtually, bro, it was kids that was at the barbershop that was logging in on their phone, and I'm teaching hard, and it was, oh yeah, Mr. Mitchell. I mean, I'm talking about getting a fresh edge up, like stuff like that was going on, and it was literally 30 minutes of instruction, 60 minutes of asynchronous time. That's the most I heard that word, asynchronous time. And now we're back into a traditional setting of 90 minutes. You have the kids that are freshmen, they were seventh graders. Like, they don't understand the concept of school. And honestly, we don't even know how far this is really going to go. Like, think about if you're a kindergartner, the effects of staying home for 2 years when you're supposed to get your social skills up. I mean, it's just a lot, bro. But school is different, bro. It's different completely.
See, man, you open up another can of worms on talking about this whole, um, you know, Zoom class, I guess you want to call it, because outside of everything that you just mentioned, um, we're also, and I don't know if you're dealing with this or not, or Derek, you may be dealing with this or not. We're also now in a time where even parents have gotten to the mindset of, well, if you don't want to go to school, you just don't go to school. You be all right now. Like, at one time, prior to pandemic, like, not going to school, missing class, blah blah blah, like, that was like a major thing. But when you think about the 2 years during the pandemic, it was like, well, if you don't feel like logging on, you ain't got to log on, or the parent wasn't there. And then I know here, I don't know what they did in Virginia, but I know here in Texas, a lot of schools were like, oh, well, you can come in or you can go virtually. So you had the virtual kids, and then you had your in-class kids. And then if your in-class kids chose to not want to come to school that day, they can just not come to school that day and quote unquote log in virtually. So now we're dealing with a set of kids who, if they don't feel like coming to school, they just not coming to school. And the parents is just okay with it. But then if it comes around and, well, you don't have all of your attendance, my question is going to be, when all of this rolls around and all of that is said and done and attendance is calculated and we supposed to be turning in grades and we talking about credits for whatever classes and all that kind of stuff, what kind of are our administrators going to make abbreviations for that? Because I remember how it was during the 2 years during the pandemic. Oh, well, we just got to pass these kids. But the reality is we still in the pandemic.
But
So
he, but even for that, you had kids. I had parents that was like, "Hey, they gonna stay home because they gotta watch their siblings." like they, some parents was like, "Man, I'm cool with this." Like, look, like we got extra food stamps now due to the situation. Hey, he gonna stay home and watch his baby sister. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go to work. Which certain situations, is understandable. But some parents honestly welcomed it. Like I know some districts that gave like their kids, their laptops and whatnot. The parents was on it looking at Netflix at 2 o'clock in the morning and that wrong stuff because the the computer specialist and digital learning specialist would open up the computer and be like, "Ugh, it is sticky," and I'll be like, like you know what this is?" like we've dealt. Teachers have dealt. We're talking. If I write a book called The Chronicles of a Teacher, like I'm telling you, it'll be a bestseller, bro. That's why people talking about they can't watch Abbott Elementary, which is a good show, but it's triggering. It's really a good show, but it's triggering because everything you say is true, bro. It's crazy, dog.
I'm sorry, bro. I didn't. I ain't had no sticky computer problems.
They had sticky
Oh,
computers that were turned in,
ugh. Got people DNA on these laptops.
but the kids be in kindergarten though, so you know it wasn't the kids. What you gonna do? Got Wi-Fi spots that got the IP address of Netflix on it all day, so you wasn't online. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. People don't know the stories, dog. This pandemic, I'm telling you. From this pandemic, you had more teachers, real talk, that honestly, alcoholism went up, drug use went up, divorce went up. Like people going through it through teachers. Look at the data.
I mean, hey, I'm not gonna deny none of that. Anything that I don't know about the sticky computers, but everything else that you just said, I 100% agree on, bro. All right, let's move on, bro. Before we do that, what's going on, Derek? What's going on, bro?
It was good, John, man. Nice. I was trying to get in earlier, man. Had to get these kids out the band room. So
What's up, doctor?
what's going on?
Oh, you in my band room, man? I ain't been in that room in years.
Yeah. I still got the stuff up there and everything.
No, they don't, cause I ain't had no whiteboard in there. I don't even know
Oh
what that
yeah,
is.
we'll talk about that later. We'll talk
Yeah,
about that
that's after my time.
Say
All right,
before you leave, before we log off, I gotta show you my little poster. I got some Norfolk stuff up there.
later.
I want you to see if you know these people. If you really
who,
know,
me or Derek?
I mean whoever. But these pictures are pretty. You possibly know them, Julian.
Yeah, it depends on how recent or it is. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it rolling, man. Welcome everybody to secondary sessions, man. Y'all, as soon as y'all come in, go ahead and smash that like button. I thought I changed that already, but I didn't. Let me go ahead and change it now. All right, there we go. As soon as you come in, go ahead and smash that like button, and also please make sure. God dang it, I am messing that up today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I smitty myself. Let me ask you this question, fellas. How many male teachers did you have?
I go ahead. Male teachers from K through 12, I had 5. Yeah. And what, 3 of them were black.
Okay.
So it wasn't. I've heard horror stories like 0 before though.
Okay.
So
Quan, how many male teachers did you have?
Damn. Uh, I really can't. Well, one, maybe possibly 2 or 3. I would say 3, 2 or 3,
And
but
I'm not
not.
talking about band directors. I'm not talking about band directors. Not band directors, not coaches.
boom, I got 2 of them.
You said no band directors and no coaches.
Not band directors, not coaches.
Shit,
2.
with none.
Okay. For me, it was out of my 12 years of or high school, middle school, elementary, 3. Just 3. So here's my question. Well, no, never mind. Let me go back. Before I go to the question, I saw this shirt that popped up, and this is what prompted that question.
Mm-hmm.
Real men teach, and I thought it was, interesting to see that. And well, we'll dive in a little bit more into it. So this is the question: were male teachers ever a thing? Were male teachers ever a thing?
Honestly, I don't think it was a thing unless you were, like you said, a band director or a coach. That's where you saw most of the males at in the school. My only other male teachers that I had experience with, one was a history teacher in high school who also happened to be my baseball coach. So, and the other one was my fifth grade teacher. He was probably the only male in the whole elementary school. So I, I just don't think it's a popular thing for us to do like core subject teaching as males. That's one of the things where we start playing the gender roles and everything. Everybody's always associated teaching with a feminine aspect, I guess. So I don't think it was ever a thing. I think it's become more prominent now. I'm seeing a lot more male teachers now. Even at my high school, there's a good amount of male teachers there, which is well needed. So
All right, Quan, was male teachers ever a thing?
Um. Well, from my experience, no. Outside of coaching, I had one male teacher that I can truly recall in the elementary school. Mr. Sylvan was a cool cat. He was an art teacher. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, it was male teachers here and there, but I wasn't under their tutelage. Well, you made me think, bro. Like I Googled, and according to the ed policy at Stanford University, it says that Latino, Black, and Asian and Native American teachers account for 17% of the U.S. public school teaching. About 2% of that are Black men. So it's not a lot, you know. And I think Derek hit it on the head. Outside of coaching, there's not many Black male teachers content. Now I know a few that's here, but it also depends on honestly the area that you're teaching in as well. I can say here at particularly at Worthen, we have several Black male teachers that are here. They're seasoned teachers, and they've been in the game a minute. A lot of them teach either math or physics or whatnot, but I'm being honest, outside of here, I never saw it that prominent, being honest. So being a thing, I guess it wouldn't be, not where I'm from.
So, and I know I brought this up on Talk That Talk before. I posed it in a different way, but the reason why I'm asking, or one of the things or thoughts that I had, is you're absolutely right, Derek. There is this now initiative and push to get more male teachers into the classroom. But when I look at the history, just the history, and just going back and what I've seen in the past, like when you look at old, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Even if you look into the media, old movies and films, things of that nature, outside of Mr. Holland's opus, but even he was a band director, right? But when you look into these savior type movies or the things that they've done in film, most of your teachers that they had were female, right? Or in most cases, like you said, and like you all have pretty basically agreed, that unless they were a coach or a band director, they more than likely were not, core subject teachers. The thing that I find interesting about that, and I actually heard this on another podcast, listening to another podcast, and I found it very interesting that when they were talking about male educators, they were coming from the standpoint that the female teacher is more nurturing, whereas the male educator, who was probably your teach your coach, or your band director, is going to be a lot more dominant and disciplined and worried about rigor and all those things that you would probably equate to being a male, which in what you going back to what you said, Derek, talking about gender roles. And so when I think about male teachers or just teachers in general, could you guys say that those ideas align as far as the gender role and the aspect of the female teacher being a lot more nurturing to the versus the male teacher being the more disciplinarian?
I don't agree that that's actually the case. However, that, like you said, that it's a stigma that comes with it. Um, you know, 9 times out of 10, let's say if somebody's having a problem with a student in a class, a lot of times if they know that student has a certain male teacher, they'll call upon the male teacher to come get the student right. I'm gonna say it like that. I don't even say discipline, but so it's that stigma that I guess the men offer tough love. This I think they still get the respect in a building. But they think that we do is tough love. There's no like, oh, I care for my students. I really go above. People think there's just cold-hearted teaching as a male because of, once again, the subjects that they think we teach. You start thinking about band. Everybody thinks about band discipline, although it is an art. You think about PE. Physical education. It still has some level of discipline. You might even go to your ROTC department in the school. These are where you're going to find a lot of your males at. You don't really think about having a male teacher as a literature teacher, which I guess some people would associate with maybe a nurturing mindset. So I think it comes with the subjects that they think males teach. But it's just a stigma to me. I don't believe it to be true. I think me as a teacher, I'm very nurturing when I need to be. Of course, I don't think you can be nurturing all the time and get the necessary classroom management when you have class like our subject area. But like I said, I think it's just stigma because of the content areas that we're known to teach. I don't think that statement is true at all, though.
Okay, Quan, any thoughts?
Yeah, so two things that popped up in my mind. First of all, number one, as a black male, I'm gonna say this portion, and I'm gonna be honest. It's a specific approach that I have to do, or I have to approach a student with, because I know the stereotypes that we have. Like, being honest, like I know, for example, let's be honest. Like, as a black man, even when we're dealing with other black women that are in the education field, it's a certain way that I have to approach them because I don't want to come across intimidating towards them to make them feel uncomfortable. That's number one. Number two, that same philosophy and method goes towards young girls at the school as well. And as well as to our young men of today that we teach as well, because if they don't have a male figure at home, sometime, bro, they may pop off, and not in the best way because they're not accustomed to that. So it's like it's a case by case situation of what nurturing looks like. Like I know some students that I could come in and be like, say, bro, you're messing up. This is what it is. You know, like you're better than this, so forth and so on. And then it may be another student, another male that I'd be like, say, bro, like, hey, let me talk to you real quick. Where depending on what he's experienced, I have to have less movement because I know what type of environment he came in. I need to de-escalate the situation or remove him before he even hear a word because he'll pop off on something because he doesn't have trust for men. You know what I'm saying? Or you have some young ladies who have mother wounds that honestly will cling to you because you're the closest father figure that they know. So nurturing looks different on a case by case situation depending on where you're teaching. Specifically for me, because I teach in an urban area where I'm dealing with kids with a lot of trauma. So I can't come at the same kid the same way. And that's what I've learned about teaching overall. Every kid, like for example, Luke, for a fact, your oldest child, that may be the one you got to put in the cut. But that baby child, you could fuss at her or fuss at him and be like, okay, that's all it takes. And that's the same way for all kids. You can't treat all of them the same. You have a standard of accountability, but your approach has to be different pending the situation. So it just depends on what nurturing looks like for that individual child at that individual situation at that individual moment. And that's how teachers really should start thinking. But how your approach depends on what you know about that student. If you quote unquote did the research and unpack their backpack to get to know their kid. So it just depends.
So I'm gonna ask this question, and as you were talking, it kind of made me think about this. So both of you brothers gave some great responses, but based on just kind of your responses, and it may come out wrong when I ask this question, but it's just something that I thought about. So would you be able to say that because the education system at one time was more um, female driven, uh, would you say now that since there's a big push in male education, that people feel as though the female way was wrong, or they did something wrong, or it just wasn't being ran right, or something was not being done to now have a push for male education?
I don't think anything was done wrong per se, but I think that more people are noticing how much of a positive impact a male teacher can do, even in just a building. You know, um, male teachers offer something different. Like what Quan said, some of these kids don't have a father figure, and unfortunately, that's a statistic that if it's a single family home, it's mostly a single mother. So male teachers in the building offer that father figure. Especially when we're talking about male students. We're that even with females. I take that back. We set an example of how a man's supposed to conduct themselves even outside the classroom. It just I think it just offers a more positive impact and has a different impact of what a woman would offer in the classroom as well. Just I'm talking about just straight personality and presence. Like Quan said, men have, some of us are, especially as a black man, we do have intimidating intimidating this aura about ourselves, but I think that comes in handy as well. It shows that we're strong, so I think we just offer something different in the classroom. I don't think the old way was anything wrong with it. I think they're just seeing how to make it better.
All right, cool, cool. All right, let's keep it rolling. Oh, you had something, Quan?
Yeah, so I'm big on data because I'm really starting to prepare myself to go back to school. But the data shows statistically, got to go to the facts. So this is a dissertation.
Oh, I'm never going to turn away the facts. So you make sure
Yeah,
I'm cool on data.
right. So this is a data and methodology and data reliability, and this was a survey. And so basically, this particular person under the U.S. Department of Education, NCES, did the research. And the reason why they started really pushing for male teachers, just overall, was because it was a method called the fatherless method, that they were looking at behavior from a sociological aspect and saying, how many of y'all, basically was living in a single parent household? How many of y'all had two parent households? And it was looking at and disseminating the behavior of those students. And the statistic was showing that the students with two parent household was more likely to have sound, rational thinking and behavior because they had a nurturing mother, but they had accountability and discipline from a father. And so that's why it was a bigger push for that, as well as they were looking at it from the aspect of it's two aspects of accountability at the same time. It's always, mother here, father here. So you have that balance of that child. So this one is kind of old. It's called the father's involvement in their children's school. This is from '96. So if we was using this, it kind of would be outdated, but some peer review articles have used this for more up to date. So if anybody want to go reach out and grab this, it's going to take you to something that's more current. But I think due to studies such as this is why I think it's a bigger push for male teachers, and specifically for us, the Black male teachers. I think it's a positive aspect to it. There's nothing wrong with getting two perspective of life, from the Black females as well as um uh from Black males, from their experiences as well.
Yeah, I will never ever turn down that data, and that's actually interesting, man. Just kind of hearing that and thinking about, and I don't know if you guys had seen this when I can't remember where the school was, but there were a lot of fights happening in the school, and so the fathers in the area said that they were going to come inside of the schools, and because of that, the number of fights went down. Um, and I think that data is important, right? Because we start, especially unfortunately in our communities, we are dealing with a lot of single parent households, and not to get too deep into a lot of those other issues, but I can say that a lot of it isn't necessarily because a dad is locked up. You know, a lot of it is irresponsibility on both parties. Bad decisions. And we can get into all that, but that's not what this conversation is about. But I think that is a very good thing that they're making that decision, or making the decision of having a father like figure coming inside of the classroom. I applaud that, and I appreciate you for pulling out that data, brother. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Secondary Sessions. Go ahead and smash that like button. Like I always say, if you hit the like button, if you hit the dislike button, whatever you choose to hit, go ahead and hit it right now. And also, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here we go. Here's the big one. Here's the big one. As educators, we deal with a lot of things day in and day out. Especially now is with what we're dealing with. I would say on the heels of COVID, but we ain't really on the heels of COVID because we still inside of COVID, and we're still trying to deal with changes and things of that nature. But I do know that there are a lot of things that we specifically deal with, and a lot of pressures that we deal with. So here's a question: are we fooling ourselves about our career? Are we fooling ourselves? And I purposefully put fooling, not fooling. Are we fooling ourselves about our career. Quan, you can go ahead and hit it.
Could you elaborate just a little bit more? Like
No problem, man.
what
I
is
knew that
specific
was
for
coming.
Foolin?
So this is what I'm saying, right? There are so many days, and I think me and Quan, I think me and you had an actual conversation similar to this. There are so many days when we just go through it. We go through the ringer with other people's children. We walk into the school with certain expectations, certain goals, certain things. We walk into the school hoping that, at least 30%, at least 30 to 40% of the kids actually practice, right? You know, we have specific, well, I know in here in Texas, I don't know specifically how it works in Virginia, and you can probably back this up, Derek, but we have specific UIL deadlines that we have to meet. You know, we have to, as band directors, especially, we have the duties of the not only the students but the parents, the administration, all of those things that we have to make sure that we adhere to and we focus on, and we in somewhat try to make sure that we cover all of those bases. Um, we deal with paperwork on top of paperwork. We deal with administration, but then and we push ourselves through it, and we push ourselves through it, and then Lil Johnny, and this is no slight to Yukon, but Lil Johnny gets a scholarship, and we like, man, it's all worth it. But are we fooling ourselves? Are we just saying that just to try to fluff the stuff that we've been through? Quan, you make sense now, brother?
Makes sense, bro. Are we fooling ourselves? No. Nah, bro, we not. Nah, we not. Now, do we go? I know this I gotta be mindful of what I say because this is not the unadulterated, uncut version, but it's in secondary sessions. However, we don't fool ourselves, bro, because, and let me say for me, is this job arduous? Absolutely. Do we have days where you just want to flip a desk over, call a kid hands out, and be like, you know what, I'm gonna get this 3 hots in the cot, but y'all gonna feel me today? Or we deal with stubborn, ignorant parents. Absolutely. But when this job really is your calling, I don't look at it as we're fooling ourselves. And when you were saying that, and when you was explaining your this question, the first thing came to my mind, because I'm a believer in Christ. The first thing came to my mind was, are you willing to leave the 99 for the one? Absolutely. Because sometimes that one person that you planted that seed in that goes on to college, you just transmogrified that kid's life in a positive way that can never be undone. And I know you made the example with the one scholarship, but that one scholarship is worth it. Now, would you like more? Absolutely. But I never forget, like, my youth pastor always told me this. He was like, some of y'all gonna get it and some of y'all ain't. And I think, unfortunately, when you're in education, that's the truth. Some of them will get it, some of them not. But it is not your job to pick and choose or get upset when who doesn't get it. You bless God for the ones who got it. You bless God for the ones who didn't get it, that you pray they eventually get it, because maybe, it wasn't their season for you to see their growth. Maybe they're going to get it eventually, and you pray that they do. But the ones that get it and grasp it through band, through what you're teaching, hey, that's worth it. So I don't think we're fooling ourselves, but we also have to be honest with ourselves to truly understand this is the job that we say that we, are going to do, that we're called to do. We do make a difference. Think about it. It was a band director that changed your life, that made you want to pledge out for. Same thing for me. What if you would, not saying that you wouldn't have been successful or as successful as you are right now, but what if he wasn't in your life? The precepts that he taught you, like, where would you be? Same thing for me with Prof. Edwards, with Dr. Nicholas Thomas, even, Prof. Thornton, because I've learned him through you and through the other people that I've met. So when you think about that, he touched everybody's life. So I I don't look at it as we're fooling ourselves. Even though education has changed, even though things is arduous, even though things is hard, you may be that one person that real talk that saves that kid's life. You may be that one person that real talk. We was talking about mental health last week, and we have a 30-year-old model that jumped from a building. What if we're that one person that honestly that takes that kid from off the ledge? It's worth it. So we're not fooling ourselves.
All right, Derek.
Yeah. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. Um, I think now, let me not say it's I think some people are fooling themselves that may have gone to college and decided that teaching may have been the most stable thing. But I mean, if you really are here to be an educator, which I believe most of us are, that are in the field, I mean, we have the struggles that you were speaking about before. I feel like we can relieve those with the more experience we get, the better situations we get, better schools. But at the same time, I don't think any of us want to stop teaching. I feel rewarded anytime. I still feel good when students, may fix a note. That little small things like that. Not even as big as a sky. I get really excited when students are receiving scholarships and big things like that. But I still find happiness in these everyday successes. So I don't, and I think I'm not alone in that. Teachers, we do this because we're selfless people. I think that's all educators are selfless people, and selfless people need a selfless life to feel rewarded. With the stuff, the influence that we have on these students, and I think us, generally speaking, are still young in this world. So we don't really have students that have become adults, yet that will come back and tell us that are old enough to realize the impact that we had on them. Like we're old enough to realize the impact our educators had on us. My high school band director, and I used to hate him when I was in high school. I mean, he used to grill me and everything, but at the same time, I think he molded me to be the musician that I am, the educator that I am. And I think we do the same thing for our students. And think about it, you really are spending more time with the child than their parents most of the time. So this, no, we're not fooling ourselves. I'm gonna try to simply put, it's so many benefits to what we do. When you talk about the world's ecosystem, what would it be without us? We play a pivotal part in this thing called life. So yeah, I don't think
Uh,
we're fooling ourselves.
I want to I want to actually really quick comment on something that you said, Quan, because see, I'm gonna be the person. I'm gonna be the other person on the other side,
Oh,
right?
you Rick today.
I I ain't gonna be Rick. I ain't gonna be that. Maybe I don't know. But first of all, to answer your question, Larry Singleton was the DECA teacher. He was out of the three people that I told you I had teachers. He was one of them. He was an alpha man, and he wore it proudly. And I actually he really inspired me as a teacher because he enjoyed what he did, and he touched my life. And had I not been in the band and met Mr. Thornton, I still would have been inspired to be an alpha through Mr. Singleton.
Cool.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, whether you guys know it or not, I started teaching. Roughly around 2010, um, give or take, and in between that time, between 20, right in the year of like 2012, 2011, 2012, I started working at DirecTV, and I worked at DirecTV. I was doing sales, and a brother named Ken Hopkins, man, very smart businessman, salesman, blah blah blah. Um, One of the things he said to me when I got my gig in Beaumont and was about to go teach, he said, "Bro, you can teach here. I mean, technically, you can teach anywhere. You don't necessarily have to be in a building teaching kids, right?" So one of the things that you said was, if it's your calling can be to teach. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be inside of a building teaching kids. So if it's your calling, regardless of where you are, right? So if that be the case, then just because you're inside the building doesn't necessarily mean that that's the place that you're supposed to be the teacher. Does that make sense?
No,
So
I agree with that. Yeah.
so that goes back to the question again. Are we fooling ourselves, right? Because we could feel like, hey, I am this is my calling. I'm supposed to be a teacher. But I may be like, I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm reaching, or I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm touching these, not touching these kids, but reaching these kids the way, or reaching the students the way that I need to be. Or this just doesn't feel right. It doesn't line, it doesn't connect. I feel like I'm burning myself out. And one of the things that I told my dad yesterday that I felt was very interesting is, you can burn yourself out, die in the seat, and then the administrators will look like, man, I can't believe we lost this brother. All right, so let's get this hiring process going back up. You know what I'm saying? So my question, once again, I'm always come back to the question: are we fooling ourselves about our career? And
So
it look like, go ahead, you got it.
but again, even though that's everything that you said is absolutely right in regards of the example with the direct TV, you could be teaching anywhere, but that feeling, bro. You know that feeling, bro, when that hard headed kid might be a trumpet player, just like you finally get that note right. That's not fooling. That's not fooling because you work. Think about it, as collegiate members of a marching band. You worked your butt off Monday to Thursday, all them hours and rehearsals, drilling, whatever, for one show. And that one show is low key 6 minutes. Like that, so not being ugly. I'm play devil's advocate. Well, all that practicing, was that worth it? That 6 minute show? Yeah, it was. It was. And honestly, whatever you invest in, whatever you prep for, man, fry in your face, it was worth it.
I'm gonna be real with you. Nah, the only one that was worth there were a few that were worth it. Honda, but them every weekend daddies that was just them phony joints where you don't like, old dang, I can't even remember the name of PV Stadium no more.
Blackshear.
Old Blackshear, on when the team was terrible and wasn't nobody there. Them games was not worth it, bro. You was sitting there like, man,
It
I'm good.
was. It
Nah,
was, bro.
no,
It was.
no, because them
Like this.
days in Dick Price Stadium when wasn't nobody there, and you
Hey,
just playing your butt off, and you could just hear them sounds bouncing off them empty seats, and you be like, bro, like, come on, bro, like,
but like,
come on, dog.
but like this.
Them Honda Battle Fest, they was worth it. All them phony joints in between, nah, I'm good. You could have kept them days, bro.
But like this, Wilbur Rollins said this, and he said this on the whole Gritty City. He needs to see this because he been impacting kids' lives for years. He said, uh, and I quote from the movie. He said, "Imagine what a kid is going through. Imagine what you're going through. And while you playing that song, in his words, he said, once you get that downbeat and you hit it one, he was like, for those 60 seconds or whatever the case, you're not even thinking about your problems. So all what we go through, think about all what we've endeavored through the process of teaching this kid about their instrument, teaching the non-musical aspects of just sitting up and holding it and all this discipline aspect. Even the kids with the labels who the school might have excoriated and disregarded and was like, that kid ain't gonna nothing, but since you kind of getting a little product out of it, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Luke, Mr. Derek, you deal with them. And that kid turns out to be a good kid because you honestly was able to sow seeds into that kid. That's worth it. That's worth it. That's worth it. And at the end of the day, I gotta go because they put me out the building. I'm just a firm believer. When I stand before God and He asks me, "What did you do with every opportunity in front of me?" I just want Him to say, "You took care of it and you was faithful with my few, so I'm gonna increase you with many." I think when you have that mentality, it is worth it, bro. Pass the collection plate.
Okay, you got it. Uh, Derek.
Yeah. So look, I mean, like I said, I'm agreeing with Quantum on that. Just a tidbit on the end of that, man, because you said the principal, if we down the chair, they're gonna find a replacement. But that applies for everything in life. You could be the CEO of a business. Guess what? You die, somebody else, they're gonna find another CEO. You can be the president of the United States. You died, vice president move up. Yeah, I think that's just a part of life, man. So I don't think I think whatever you find joy in, man, it is what it is. So, hey, look, he said cue the organ. Nah, he took him to church though.
All right, I mean, hey, you guys are absolutely right, but I'm like I said, I'm just getting you all's thoughts and perspectives on that. All right, let's keep it rolling, man. This is gonna be the last topic for the night, and then after we do that, I'm going to open up the chat, or excuse me, I always mess that up. Open up the room and give you guys the link so that you guys can come in and chop it up with us for a second and call in with us. All right, so well, it's just actually me and you, but it's all good. Here's the last one. So I started, and I did this on purpose. So I started with educators getting a bad rap. So I'm going to end with, what is the truth about what we do? What is the truth about what we do?
Um, Man, it's a lot to unpack right there. Man, the truth about what we do will only be known by us. Nobody really knows how hard an educator works, what we do, outside of inside the classroom. Everybody has their own vantage point of it. But I mean, I like we just spoke about. I think it's a highly rewarding career that has a high impact on society itself. It's big. We lead some of the and I don't want to seem like teachers just are just there to set people up for success. That's not all we do. But I mean, but that's just we essentially do have that impact on some of the world leaders. Our particular subject, we could have the next virtuoso performer or whatever, next great educator like ourselves. We play the role of a role model. We play the role of a teacher. Obviously, we play the role of parents, counselors, and like I said, nobody truly knows everything that we do except for us because they're not in the office doing these lesson plans with us. They're not dealing with a child's trauma when we go home. They don't know what's going through our life while we're trying to deal with our students' lives as well. So, um, I mean, I think our our truth as educators, um, man, like I said earlier, it's a selfless thing, man. Nobody's really going to really appreciate what we do except for ourselves.
So I'm gonna be honest. I really wish. I don't know if you know that show, Dirty Jobs. You ever seen that show?
Sound familiar?
Yeah, I think educators need to be on that show because we do the dirty job, man. We educators do the job that a lot of parents, and this is not any slight to parents, but educators do the job that a lot of parents miss out on. I mean, I'm just keeping it a buck because let's be real. We spend 8 hours with someone else's children. 8 hours, and to some schools 9. I know at my school it's 9 hours, and we're not just teaching them math, history, science, and reading. We're teaching them how to be substantial human beings. Period.
That's fact.
That's just the reality. We're teaching them, and within that, we are also dealing and taking on their problems, especially for what we do from a music educator standpoint. But even even normal classroom teachers deal with this. Normal classroom teachers know about. and I know we always use the same same words, but normal classroom teachers know about little Susie, who just had an uncle who just got shot,
Yeah.
or a mom who just passed away. They don't. They take that stuff to their teachers, especially to the teachers that they're close to. And when they take those things to those teachers that they're close to, guess what? That information sits on those teachers, and those teachers have to disseminate information or be there for those kids or nurture those kids. And then that information goes home with that teacher. And then we're taking on all of this energy. And we have to go back to our own homes, whether we're single or married or have kids, and we're taking on all this energy and we're walking into our own homes, and we have to settle our own problems, and we have to be parents, and we have to be fathers, or we have to be mothers. We do the dirty jobs.
I mean, that's true, man. I think teachers are the best people at putting on a fake face. I mean, just speaking on what you were talking about, we're hearing all these things that are going on with students, and we have our own personal things going on at home. But guess what? You got to get up in the class every morning with a smile. You can't go into class gloomy or anything like that, man. You just got to put on a front, essentially, in order to do our job. We don't have a job where we can have a bad day, because once we have a bad day, I mean, that bleeds into the students. So, yeah, man. I mean, you're completely right with that.
I mean, I try to drop little nuggets every now and then. I don't talk too often, but when I do, I have something worth saying.
Right, right.
All right, let me go ahead and let him into the room. What's going on, Chuck?
Yo. What's going on, guys?
What's going on there, brother?
Y'all doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. So, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I wasn't active in the chat as much because I was taking notes, right? And so,
I thought you said you was going. I wasn't active in the chat because I was taking the. I thought you was going to say.
Oh no, bro, nah. But I was taking notes just to kind of touch on each thing. And so the first one when you were talking about educators get a bad rap, and why do you think that? I think our profession is not valued, just to the average person or just in general. And people don't have a clue of what we got to do to obtain, maintain, and progress as a professional. Like, just got done with the GMEA conference, and that's stuff that we're supposed to go to. But, to the average person, they wouldn't understand that. We've all been to these conferences where we have our badge and they have to scan it, and sometimes we have to turn that paperwork in. Sometimes we have to write a reflection on what we did at that conference to turn that in to get CEUs so we can keep our license, so we can keep our job and hopefully move up, through the tier. And so those are things that a lot of people won't know unless, being in the profession. So, definitely it's not valued. But also I think more now than ever, parents have little to no engagement with their child's academic progress. Anytime that I sit down with parents, and I again, you guys have been teaching for different years. We have a plethora of experience on here, and I'm gonna be honest. After like year, I think 13 or 14, I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna tell this parent like the real and go at them because I'm a parent as well too. And I'll say, hey, you got Instagram. Why don't you have this app to check your kids' grades? You have some Facebook, you have other social media. Why don't you have this? It's 2 clicks of a button to see how your child is doing. And, so I just kind of keep it real. So, but you'll be surprised, or you guys won't be surprised because you see it, that parents have no clue. And I mentioned, a few shows back that I used to coach, and I would see how parents would not get the tools for their kid in my class for music, but then for coaching, they got the brand new $200 shoes, they got the knee wrap, they got the shooting sleeve, they've got everything, and from the jump before they even made the team, this is tryouts, and so again, it's the just the parent things that we have to deal with, little or no engagement, unless it's something that they really, I don't know, that they deem important. and you and I, you guys, we all know the percentage of students that get athletic scholarships compared to the students that get band scholarships. It's like 70 to 75% difference. It's less than like 1 to 2% they get athletic scholarships out of all
Well,
high school athletes.
well, let me say this. You're absolutely right. Like priorities is different. Like we all know that, and half of that is because of the fact that, and we've said this more than once, band is not just something that is showcased as heavily as athletics, NBA. Right now the NBA is on right now, and we just got finished with football last night. So everybody, that's a visual thing. I'm hoping that this March kind of helps to push the culture forward in that way. But it's something that me and my wife talked about. I think it was last night or the other night. I think another half of that is because the world itself has changed, right? The world now has required so many adults and parents to be actively engaged in their job to the point to where they're now either not home enough or too damn tired, and excuse my language, was too damn tired to even focus on the things that they have to do at home. And
Right,
so
right.
home lacks because we're putting our whole life into our job to stay afloat because money has changed, inflation has happened, wages aren't really changing, but inflation is happening. So we have to do whatever we can to keep as much money in the house. And and as parents, we're burning ourselves out, and now we're not focused on our own kid. So I think it's kind of a mix between the both.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Economics definitely plays a huge role, in that. Like we could even think about how families were a whole lot larger when we were younger. You had, a couple with 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids. You don't see that as much. And so I can definitely say that, but I agree with that to the extent of it's what the parent values. At one point, I was a single parent, still teaching band, taking care of my child, and I was actively engaged, even as a band director, because I had that as a child and I wanted that for my child as well, too. And so, you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do. And there's different ways to do it. And we have all this different technology. So, again, there's a lot of parents, they give a lot of excuses, but when it's time for the things that they value, like that basketball game or that football game, or or the prom, you know um they're there. They're there. When it comes to some of the other stuff, it's lacking. But another point that I had, like regarding music educators, our day to day is much more than what people see under the bright lights. And you were touching on something which I'm not trying to give a plug or whatever, but I'm working with another band director about something to highlight, like the band room, like the day to day, and we're gonna call on educators as you guys to give that, to so people can see that, and our goal is hoping that future educators will be able to see that. I know I would have loved to kind of get a peek, more than just my student teaching or getting observation hours and stuff. And so, but yeah, another topic. But when you were talking about male teachers, I gotta say, man, I had like so many male teachers. I remember my first principal was a male, and of course we were all small in kindergarten, but this guy was huge. I swear he was like 6'8". This guy was huge, and we were intimidated by him. But he was very, very, very short but very direct, and nobody wanted to go to his office. And again, I might be showing my age, but we were able to get paddled, when I was in kindergarten,
You ain't showing
and
your age. I got paddle.
right. So
Yeah, I got that wood in school. So
right,
yeah, you good.
they used to show us, they used to model it. They'll come around the classrooms and show this one and this one, and we just acted right, And so I just remember that, and I can say too, like there's certain schools, and I know amongst us, teaching Black and brown kids and different demographics, we having those people in place outside of coaching and in different disciplines, that's inspirational. When I was in Chicago, like it was a hiring point that they were looking for, males to teach English, males to teach math, and women to coach and other things. And we used to have these advisories, which were kind of like, that they were our boys that we played for 4 years, and we had to see them every morning, every afternoon for 4 years. And they started switching some of those roles. They started having females to mentor young males, and then vice versa. And so again, as male teachers, I see that's increasing, in a lot of buildings. And I think it's important because you need to, the kids need to see us in all different areas and facets. I think, Jay-Z talked about it in an interview. Just now you have kids that are seeing people that look like them being CEOs and entrepreneurs and things like that. And that's inspiring, the next generation. And so I think that's really important when it comes to that. I had just a couple more things on what was it? Are we fooling ourselves about our career? I say yes or no. Environment's the key. Us as teachers, and again, I come from 2 HBCUs, Fayetteville State University and North Carolina A&T. And A&T, we got to say loyalty. You see it on everywhere. And there's a lot of meaning behind that outside of just the word loyalty, right? It's woven deep into the fabric of the university. If you're an Aggie, you understand that. And so, but we're loyal to a fault as band directors and as, former band members. We will stick things out even when things ain't going good. We've all had those people in our section that were trash, and we had to bring them from ish to sugar. We had that saying like, hey, that person better know that song by tomorrow, from the band director. And it was our responsibility as musicians, as music educators, education majors, to get that person from point A to point B. If we didn't have it together, they were looking at us. And so we've all had that. And sometimes we will stick in an environment knowing that it's not healthy, knowing that it is not good for us. We're not giving our best for our kids. We don't have the support. We don't have the advocacy. Our schedules suck, and I've learned, that, hey, that when it's time to go. When it's time to go. And sometimes, again, we're there for the kids. And I had to learn this. Sometimes I've stuck, I was at my first program for 7 years. Loved it to the death. Maybe I think I was a year, maybe later than what I should have been. But an educator told me there's kids everywhere. And that's hard. You know what I'm saying? That's hard, especially when it's like, I was teaching kids, their parents were in that band, 20 something years ago, and cousins and brothers and sisters and stuff. And so it's hard. It's very, very hard. But, we have to be honest in terms of on the professional side and be like, hey, I'm not getting what either A, I was promised, or B, I'm not getting what I need to be at my best. Because like you said, we die in the chair. When I first started my career, I was like, hey, I'm going to be like, I'm going to be like Dr. Johnny B. Hodge, 22 years in the game, and that's it, right off into the sunset. Or other band directors that we've seen we had some that have just retired.
But here's a problem with that, right? So there's two things that you said. Mm-hmm. Well, it's two things I'm going to respond to. The first thing is, and you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Like that's just the harsh reality of it. And a lot of times, a lot of us are empty. A lot of us are really going on fumes, and we're still trying to figure out how to make it work. And then that's how that burnout happens, right? And a lot of us hit burnout early on. A lot of us don't hit burnout like towards the end of the year. A lot of us hit burnout by the time, especially if you're a high school band director and you dealing with football and all that kind of stuff, you hit burnout by like fourth game. You like, bro, I don't know, bro. Like, and then you thinking about festivals and you think about all these different things that you have to do. You hit burnout, bro. That's just. Oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about it right now. I'm getting burnt out just thinking about it.
Bro, I remember sitting I never forget, we were at this gym battle. It was like my 5th year teaching right now. Early on, I was going to everything. I don't care what was going on. We going to
I
everything.
was,
We got to get the name out. We out there. We playing at the church. We playing at the gym. We playing down the street, on the corner, wherever we're going. We don't care if there's some money. Cool, feed us, whatever. We're there. I never forget when my daughter was an infant. She was just walking, and I never said. And all you guys got kids? Everybody got kids? Everybody got kids? Okay.
I got
Okay.
kids. I got kids.
All right. So, Derek, you haven't been fully immersed as being a band director till you got kids. Okay, so you understand it. And so, but seriously, I remember my daughter. She was just being able to walk, and you know those little like I don't want to call it a leash, but you know that they have for kids. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and sometimes it was just my daughter and I, and it was like hundreds of people. So I was always scared that she would see like a puppy and go run off, right? So I got her this little cute backpack that was like a little dog, and then it had like a thing that went to, and I used to have it, you know. And so I never forget the lights turned off. There was strobe lights going on. The home drum line was making their entrance, and I remember seeing my daughter there, and she was kind of running around and playing, and I'm just like shaking. The lights are off. I have my hands just like this, and I'm tearing up, and I was like, I could be at the park, like with my child. I could be doing something else. I didn't think my band sounded well that day, and I didn't think anybody else sounded well that day. I was like, this is a waste of time. This is a waste of energy. I started thinking about the kids that they could be with their parents and their family and things like that. And I like hit the point like I am not doing this to myself and to my kids anymore. Like, what is the purpose? You know? And so I started thinking about some of our purposes, you know, and worthwhile projects. That thing just kept like going in my head. Worthwhile project, worthwhile. What does worthwhile mean? And again, there's nothing wrong with doing those things, but I think sometimes we overdo it and it falls on us. You know, we've all seen that meme of that sign of the band director saying, call your rides now. We've all been through that. You know what I'm saying? And we should not. And again, I got to shout out my parents at Tucker High School in Tucker, Georgia. I love them to death. We get back from that game at 9:00. The band room was gone at 9:20. I tell them all the time, thank you. Thank you. You have no idea how much my family and I appreciate that. But again, you know, I just to kind of wrap up the points that I had.
Well, I know.
Go
I
ahead,
know.
bro.
Before you get to your points, I want to speak on two things. One,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna speak on the thing I was gonna say, and then I'm gonna speak on what you just said. The other thing is, I'm sorry, but I don't think that idea of band exists anymore. That I'm gonna retire in a seat, like, or die in it. You know, my band director, you know, Ronald Thornton, God rest his soul, died in his seat. You know what I'm saying? And he died happily. And I don't mean it that way, but like he knew he wasn't feeling well, and yet he was still trying to get music together for the kids during that time and when he wasn't feeling well.
Right.
I think between the change of how culture is now, and I think that because we as human beings have woken up and said they're just things I'm not going to accept and deal with, right? And now this goes into what you just said. Me as a parent, honestly, you know, and I enjoy teaching. I do. But as a parent, there are many times when I'm sitting in front of the students and they could be doing great. But in my mind, I'm like, I could be with my children right now. I could be teaching my own kids. And that is not saying that I discredit, you know, the students that I am teaching. But what that does say is I value my kids too. Yeah. I value the development of my kids. I value being a father to my own kids. Because here's the thing that I think about a lot. Going back to the idea of and I didn't know this information, and I'm glad that Quan looked it up. Going to the idea of the father or the male figure being inside of the educational realm as the father figure, right? But if the male figure who has kids is inside of that room or inside of that building 8 hours a day, then what are they giving to their own kids? So you're still taking a father out of the home to be a father to other people's kids. So these are things that I think about, and I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but they are thoughts that I've had, and I'm pretty sure other fathers have had that who are probably inside of the school system.
No, you're right. I remember when Doc Hodge retired, and I remember when I found out he was retiring, and he was my applied instructor. So those of you guys that had a band director, either director of bands or assistant band director that was doing their applied lessons, that was a whole different monster than just having with somebody in the department. You still got to see this guy from 4 or 5 till 11 o'clock, whenever, every day. And I never forgot, I was upset. And it came from a selfish place. I had no idea. And the next thing that he said, he was like, Charles, he was like, I owe my wife. He's like, I owe my wife and my kids. And because all of them had been in the band. His son was in the band. His daughter was in the band. And I remember my daughter just, being just born, and 2 weeks later at a competition, and like I just think of that, and again, there's been right, and it's crazy, and people don't realize that, and so purposely, and just being transparent, purposely, when I moved here, we have our kids going. We live outside of the county I teach. Our kids are going to a different school on purpose. They could have went to the school, middle school, feeding in right to my school, but they would have been at rehearsal with me every day, and then go home. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that to them. If they want to be there, then that's fine. Let's make that happen. But I'm not doing that to them because, again, I want them to be kids. I don't want to have to subject them to my schedule all the time. I mean, man, my daughter had a little desk next to my desk for the first part of my career, and she was right there with me doing her coloring and stuff. I mean, shoot, I was in graduate school and my daughter was in class with me, at one point, and so again, that's a whole nother thing that I don't think people realize. Like, and Quan, like you said, he touched on something that I ain't even think about as well too. You're still pulling us out of the house, and teaching everybody else's kids. Sometimes we come home drained, and can't pour into our kids. And we even talk about our wife, our spouse, and so that's why I'm all about like the schedule and planning and making it make sense. We can still have a successful program. We can bop in here and do this or whatever, but I'm not, living in the band room. We can be, and I learned this from other directors. I remember I sat on Donovan Wells' couch at Bethune-Cookman one summer. And mind you, this is the same week that the high school camp is going on. But he's in his office doing administrative work, right? And I said, he asked me, he said, hey, you can come by, because my line brother was working at the university at that time. So I gave him a call. He said, yeah, come on by, Charles. And I was like, I don't want to disturb you because I know you have camp going on. He's like, nah. He's like, my staff and my alum, they got it. They're running the show, And so I remember sitting on his couch and asking about his rehearsal schedule. I was like, contrary to popular belief, are one of the most consistent sounding bands out there, period, in my opinion. And I was like, how do you do it? And he's like, Charles, he's like, I keep my circle small. I only got a few people on staff, and we don't practice all day and night. He's like, maybe if it's homecoming or, of course, camp and stuff like that, we get in, we get out. We do our business, we get in, we get out, and we go home. He's like, these kids got academics. I got a wife and a family, and we're going to keep it pushing. And so, again, people like to get on them about their maybe, repeating book every year.
Yeah, squareness and yeah.
Right. But again, in terms of sound, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, they're unmatched. They're
right.
unmatched.
Just being honest. And so, again, just to kind of wrap this up, I think we are as directors, we are fooling ourselves when we allow our ego to overshadow our purpose and our calling. We all have our moments, and there's a difference between confidence and letting our ego, overshadow what we've been called to do. I was always told from my first superintendent, which happened to be an Aggie as well too. He was like, if you make every decision in the best interest of the student, you'll never make a wrong decision. And I always think about that, like in any decision, it was like, is it the best interest of the student? And that's kept me out of hot water, even in some controversial situations, it's kept me out of hot water because it was in the best interest of the student. And again, what's the truth about what we do? We are building future leaders, critical thinkers, and the next creative minds. I get to teach a music technology class every week, and we're working on sampling. That's our project that's coming up. And these kids came up with something, and they put some vocals on it. One of my senior saxophone players played a little riff on it, and they put it all together. And I was just like, man, like this. I was like, this is hot. Like this is good, And so, again, I love that because that allows me to step off the podium, get into some digital stuff. I know, bro, you said you were a DJ as well too. I just started over the pandemic. I wanted to do it years ago, but it just never transpired. And so, anyways, my goal for that music tech class is to get all my kids DJ controllers, and to have a whole class. You know what I'm saying? Some basic ones. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
But basic ones. No. We start with the little ones. Again, starting them off that way, and who knows? You know what I'm saying? And maybe a business. I wish I would have did it in college, because that could have been something that I could have, just to scratch that musical itch outside of, you know what I'm saying, outside of playing my horn all the time.
I can tell you right now, it helped me. So much so that for a long time I thought I was just gonna go into music and radio and blah blah blah. I mean, the teaching aspect happened to come along because I was inspired by my band director. But I really, honestly, if I can be like massively transparent, like I just wanted to play for the Houston Symphony and be a DJ and own my own club when I was in college. That's all I wanted to do. I play on the weekend. Practice during the week, do a couple of performances, and then go hit the club and get people out of their seats and move their booties. No, I feel you though, man. I mean, the one thing that I applaud, what you saying that is, you are attacking something that you just wanted to do. I know that I did the same thing that you did when I was teaching high school. I taught kids digital music. I did the sampling. I did teaching them how to make beats and taught them about sound and microphones and all of those kind of things. And the only reason why I was able to even learn to get into that was because I was a DJ. And now, and I graduated. My degree is in media as well as education. But yeah, I applaud you for just, taking the chance and getting out there and doing what you wanted to do. Because I think that we miss that boat sometimes. We get so wrapped up into what we're doing as far as, like you said, getting wrapped up in the students and getting wrapped up in the success of what we're supposed to do and making sure that the students are getting what they need, that we tend to forget about the things that we need and the things that we want to do and the other dreams that we had. Like becoming a band director, sometimes our dreams was, man, I want to make sure my band is 150 piece strong and winning every battle of the bands, dog.
Hey, but look, when you get an opportunity to have that success, you realize sometimes it can be lonely. There was a competition in North Carolina. I won 2 times back to back, and it was a great feeling. But then I was empty. I was like, we did all of this and for this, and I loved it, but it wasn't it. I didn't feel fully fulfilled. I didn't feel fully fulfilled. And you won't know that unless you get there. I did a national performance. I love it to death, but I was on pins and needles because I had kids falling out. We were on national TV. Like my stress was on a whole nother level. That's why I got the LeBron James going on right here, man.
Oh man, I got it too.
Right.
You see that? Yeah.
That comes from stress. Why half our band directors are bald. Some of the legendaries, they're all bald. But you don't know till you get like a taste.
Derek, you're in trouble, brother.
Oh, you next,
bro. I'm trying to keep my hair. I got a couple crazy though.
But I just wish that we would do more of. I was at a camp at Tennessee State, and they had a session talking about like ways that we could self-care because that's an issue that I think all of us deal with. I know I deal with that as well too. Like it's hard for me to do for myself.
I do too.
I want to do for others, my wife, my kids, everybody else. I mean, we've all had
You sound like me. My wife can't stand it. She like, you got to take care of your own self. You always trying to take care of your students. You trying to make sure we good. You don't never take care of yourself. I'm like, hey, I mean,
but that was what our directors did for us. That's exactly what they did, and they gave us this gift. But then in the end, I'm still my high school band director. He walked me through my process for Alpha. He was my inspiration, my first inspiration, and he was my recommender. He was right there with me throughout the whole entire process, and getting to know him on that level and to talk with him about certain things. You'd be like, man, I wish I would have known. Not saying it would have changed the trajectory, but I didn't realize like all the battles and all the things that he was fighting. And then in the middle of the day, he'd be like, hey, what class you got right now? I got gym. He's like, come on, let's go grab something to eat, you know? And we would just have those conversations, those one-on-ones. And I'm just really appreciative of that. But we just don't realize sometimes what the totality of our career is, not only as band directors, but as teachers. And the last point that I had, it was just, we inspire through the medium of music, which touches each endeavor in life. You know, I tell other teachers and I tell my students, I was like, we have no bench players. Everybody's a starter. And we don't have an off season. We just transition. We take a little break in the summer. But do we really take a break? It doesn't turn off. We're thinking about show. We're thinking about music. We're thinking about planning for these kids to come in, you know? And when you were mentioning about having, just to kind of go back when you were talking about 150 people, that's a problem that I don't think everybody wants to have. Because when you get there, little things like a bathroom break, stop at McDonald's,
bruh,
spats for everybody. Like it's such a headache, and people would not understand what you have to deal with. And then cleaning a group like that, making it sound good. Like a lot of people, it's more problems. That's why I applaud a Bethune or a FAM or people that Ohio State or Michigan, where they have a bunch of, or LSU, a bunch of people, and get them to sound the way that they do. We know how hard that is. And so, again, those are just my points, man. I just appreciate you guys. You know what I'm saying? This secondary methods, I think we're able to dive in, you know what I'm saying, a little bit more. I was definitely on with, that was sorry, that's all with Doc O'Neill Sanford. It's definitely one of my mentors as well, too. And I didn't even, attend the school that he taught at. And I've learned a lot from him as well too, and so it was good to see you guys, on there talking with him, and hopefully we can get some other high school directors, secondary teachers on here, to be guests and stuff like that, and spread that knowledge, because things are totally different than what they ever were before, and we definitely, have a lot to push through.
Definitely, bro. And Chuck, I appreciate you, man, for continuously supporting. I'm always say, man, share this information out, share it out to other folks, man. Let's bring them in here. I try to get as many people in here as I can. But so, you already know how it is. We're educators. I'm trying to do all this while still being an educator at the same time. So,
a husband,
and a husband,
and a dad,
and a father. Yeah,
man, yeah. I don't know how Bill Cosby did it. Dr. Huxtable did it,
I mean, that was TV.
Right, I know that was TV, but man, I don't know how he did it. I think,
yeah. But man, Chuck, appreciate you, bro. I already know I'm gonna see you back on Wednesday, bro. Until then, man, I appreciate your support, brother.
Y'all take care, man. Derek, what school you teach at again?
It's IC Norcom in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know Norcom. My one of my mentors that's at Elizabeth City used to be there.
Juliet Boykins.
Oh, yeah, Boykins. Yeah, she used to be there. Juliet. Yeah, that was the last time we competed against each other. I'm gonna be honest, I was nervous because I know of Norcom's history. Norcom's had a amazing history, and people don't talk about them enough. And when I was in high school, they were a monster. That was a high school we looked up to, and we were in North Carolina. So that's good, man. Keep up the good work, man.
I'm trying.
All right,
bro. See you Wednesday.
Take care,
man. Man, I appreciate Chuck whenever he comes by, man. He always has some gems that he can drop on us, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. It has been a interesting show to say the least, but you know, we always gonna rock whether it's 2, 3, 1. We gonna keep it going, man. I appreciate the brother for coming through. Hopefully you realize that you probably gonna lose some hair.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to keep everything, man. I don't know, I got a full head. So.
Hey man, if I can get my hair back like that, brother, I really would. I really would, man. You know, if I could pray it up right now, brother, I would definitely do it, man. But no, man, I appreciate you for keeping the conversation going, man. Quan, I know he had to check out. It's a lot going on, man. I know he just kind of told me he's dealing with a weather issue. I know we're about to have some weather issues here. Also, if you are not, or if you have not tonight watched March, it will be on the CW app tomorrow for free. So just make sure that you guys check that out. And I'm going to continue to advertise March because it's something for us. It's our platform. It's what we do. I know it does have the Prairie View A&M University Marching Storm on it, and that's where it's covering. But it is what we do, and we want to continue to support that. All right, Derek. Any final thoughts, brother, before we get out of here?
I mean, if it's any educators watching, take care of yourselves. Don't get chased out because I think Tuck talked about it. Don't be in a bad environment. I feel like that's a reason why a lot of teachers leave the career is because they're in a bad environment. There is some greener grass on the other side. That's what I want to say.
Definitely. And hey, man, my only thing that I'm gonna say is, if you're doing it, do it to the best of your ability. Whether you feel as though you are tired or whatever, if you feel like you're tired, push through, make it out, and then make whatever decisions that you need to make on the back end. But until then, if you're going every single day, do your best. Put your feet first. Plant your feet and take a brace and just keep going. You already know if you know what I'm talking about. All right. Other than that, man, I appreciate everybody joining us for secondary sessions. We will be back on Wednesday to talk that talk. Talk that talk is going to be great, and I can't wait to have that conversation. Until then, I will see you guys next week, next Monday for secondary sessions.